Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and our guest today is Krisle. She is the CEO and founder of 10,000 Beds, and you will not believe her story. Jean, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We're thrilled to have you back and excited to talk about what you're up to. Now, you recently, and when I say recently, just in the last week or two, you have sold your home, packed up everything you own, and you've either put it into the trailer you bought or into storage. What on earth are you doing?
We are heading out on a year-long road trip throughout the United States, and our purpose is to increase awareness of the realities of addiction and to help people have a better understanding of who addicts really are and what they're dealing with and improve the perception there.
And what does 10,000 Beds do?
10,000 Beds is a nonprofit organization that partners with treatment centers across the United States to provide scholarships for addiction treatment to those without resources who are in need of help and ready for help.
You know, it's really a pretty remarkable insight you had. You launched 10,000 Beds without the benefit of owning a bed, and rather than raise a bunch of money to build a facility that would help 100 or 200 people a year, you figured out you could help thousands without owning a bed. Tell us about your model.
Yeah, some people think I'm nuts, but it's been fun. I've been working in the industry for almost half a decade now, and as I've had many roles within the industry, I've talked to a lot of people who need help but have no resources to get it. But at the same time, I'm touring treatment centers all over really the nation, and they're awesome and they want to help, and they all have empty beds. And the thought came to me, oh my gosh, I've got people who need help but can't get into a treatment center because they don't have any resources. But I also have empty beds in treatment centers. How can I bring those two together? And I was literally driving down the 405 in California, and the thought came to me, 10,000 beds. And the number, some people have laughed and said you should have gone with 100. Other people have said you're going to hit 1 million before 2020. We're happy with 10,000, and our goal is to place 10,000 scholarships by 2020, and we call a bed a scholarship.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so typically a bed is a month in a treatment facility, right?
At least a month. We actually have a partner in Hawaii that is a year-plus program, and they scholarship the entire thing. It's amazing. And
that would really change someone's life. I sometimes worry, we hear, you're the expert, but we hear all the time in the public media, in the general media, about the number of times people relapse and end up in treatment over and over again.
And that's the challenge. And that's the challenge. 30 days is it's like a beginner course, and they get that 30 days of being sober, having some counseling, having support, creating a support group, and then some steps that they should take once the 30 days are over. But that's really not enough. Addiction is really serious, and it's very difficult to beat. And nobody chooses to be an addict. It's something that happens because of some trauma that they've suffered or a medical condition that made them addicted to prescription drugs, whatever the case may be, severe depression. And those things are difficult to kick. And drugs are the way they self-medicate, but then that becomes difficult to kick. So 30 days is a beginner course.
Our stereotypes around dependency are probably all wrong these days, in that so many people have been added to the ranks of addicts, including those who are abusing heroin, who got there because they started abusing prescription drugs that were prescribed for a legitimate problem. There's at least I hear that in the media. Are you seeing that, in fact, among your scholarships?
Absolutely, and across the nation and across every economic, socio, any kind of standard you might think of for an addict has been broken. I mean, there is no stereotypical addict. We're dealing with people who are active members in churches. We're dealing with city leaders. We're dealing with government officials. We're dealing with moms at home. We're dealing with doctors. Nobody is immune. And as I said before, nobody chooses to be an addict. The choice is made when the misuse of something that's prescribed or the misuse of a substance happens, but it's not a choice they're making on that day, sadly. They think they're having another drink or taking another pill. They don't think that they're starting their road down that terrible road of addiction.
Yeah, it is so challenging. Now, what is the point of the trip? Let's revisit that question. I mean, this is such an interesting thing to do to bring attention. I mean, it's a huge sacrifice. You have sold your home, packed up everything you own, you put it into this trailer, albeit it's a beautiful trailer. I've seen a couple of pictures, but still, you're living in 400 square feet instead of 4,000 square feet. This is a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. I think there are moments that my husband and I have looked at each other and thought back to that moment when we thought, what if? But we have never regretted the decision. We're really excited. We feel like, the face of addiction is not this face normally. It's not normally a 62-year-old woman. And I feel like there's a story that I can tell that will help families, moms, grandmas, understand better what's happening to their friends, their family, their colleagues. I've just connected with a group that is grandparents raising children, and the majority of those children that they're raising are parentless because their parents OD'd. So I feel like I have an opportunity to raise awareness and hopefully connect with the generation of people, in addition to everyone else that I'll be talking to, that right now nobody's really talking to.
Are you hoping that this trip will also help you generate funds as well as attention?
Oh, absolutely. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, so we really depend on donations and support. We have wrapped our RV, this 40-foot RV that you've been referring to, is being wrapped with our logo, our hashtag On the Road for Recovery. And there is also a call to action where people can text a number and donate $10. And I'm hoping as we drive around the country, we'll get some of those donations from people who are excited to see us on the road, maybe have heard about us on the news. ABC is pushing our story out throughout the country, so we will be appearing in local networks all over the country. So yes, but most importantly, we want to connect with our partners. We have extraordinary treatment program partners that provide these scholarships. I don't own a treatment center, so the scholarships I provide are provided through these treatment programs, and we want to connect with them. We want to meet some new partners. We want to strengthen the relationships we have, and we just want to touch base. I mean, I've been living in Utah, and some of my partners are back east, and I don't get back to them often enough. So this will give us the opportunity to just circle the nation and really create a huge network of, I'm going to call them road warriors, who will help us help those who have no resources get into treatment.
Yeah. Well, and that's the people that you are most hoping to help with your program, right? Are the people that have no resources. And I guess I think that may be a more stereotypical, the people we think of most, the people we see on the streets that are really struggling with addiction, that literally have nothing.
That's right. And yet there's even a division there, and it's kind of interesting. I have some colleagues who their sole purpose is to rescue the people who are homeless and living in the homeless shelters, and they spend day and night literally tracking down lost family members, and I have so much respect for them, and those people need that kind of help. Our target audience is just a little bit different. Our target audience are addicts who are probably couch surfing. They're probably not living in a tent city. They are still couch surfing from friend to friend, maybe a family member. They don't have a home. They don't have a job. They really don't have resources. Mom and dad have probably already sent them to treatment 4 or 5 times. And they've said, we're sorry, we did this 4 or 5 times. We can't mortgage our house again. We love you, but we're done financing this habit. And that's the person that we're reaching out to. And they've hit bottom. They finally realize their friends are done with them, family's done with them. And until that happens, sometimes it takes that for an addict to think, oh my gosh, I need help, and where am I going to get it? That's where 10,000 Beds comes in.
That is wonderful. Just wonderful to help people that are in such desperate need. And I guess the key is trying to match that point, that intersection of opportunity that you provide with the real level of preparation, that emotional and physical readiness to get into a program and do what it takes.
It's critical. And our application process is not simple, but it's not strenuous. It's just an application process. These are scholarships. They're not entitlements. We want to make sure that someone who accepts and is granted a 10,000 bed scholarship really is ready for help. So there's a 28 question application online that an applicant needs to fill out. Then we make a call and we do our own assessment. All of my board members are in the addiction treatment industry. They are either a professional in the industry and or they are in recovery themselves. So they have a level of knowledge that I don't have. I'm still the enabling mother, and I want to help everyone. So my eyes are the first on the application. Then they take a look. And then we send it off to the treatment center program that seems to best match that applicant's needs. And then they do their own assessment. So by the time someone's admitted to a program on a 10,000 bed scholarship, they have answered a lot of questions and really had to be honest about where they are, who they are, what they need, and what their plans are after they complete their treatment.
You're a relatively young organization. I think you probably did your first scholarship, 12 or 18 months ago?
Correct. Yeah, about 18 months ago.
So give us a sense of the early results. Do you have some success stories you can brag about?
We do. We have a lot of graduates who have continued to stay in touch with me, which is exciting for me. I get little texts every single day from somebody saying, thank you again, Jean, for the opportunity that 10,000 beds gave me, and that just warms my heart. We have done over $1 million in scholarships in 2016. We think in 2017 we're going to do closer to 5 million. Officially, I say we're going to double our number of last year, but I think we're going to probably quadruple or quintuple it. So I'm excited about that. We have several amazing graduates who are actually preparing to do some video interviews for us where we can put them on our websites and let people know what's happened to them. One of these is in Habilitat, which is our partner in Hawaii, and he will probably spend about, by the time he leaves, almost 18 months in that program. But it's a great example of a treatment program that's successful because of the modalities that they provide, but also because they expect so much from the people who are there. It's a work program. And it's just an amazing way to teach someone how to have self-esteem and self-respect and know that they're capable of living a normal life. I think one of my big aha moments as I've been in this treatment world was when someone reminded me that when they are training addicts how to re-enter the world, one of the things they teach them is to grocery shop. And it never crossed my mind that an addict has probably never grocery shopped sober. And that's such a sobering thought, because I never even thought about the fact that they would need to be taught how to grocery shop. So all of these things, work programs, life skills, those are the kind of programs we like to partner with, and those are the kind of programs that are benefiting our clients.
Well, you have a personal connection to this world, don't you? I think you've told me that you have a son that has struggled with addiction.
I do. And I'm very, very proud of him. His name is Colin, and he actually just was interviewed with me and put his story online. And he's had a rough go. He was a father of 4, married, took on a 4th job that put him into an environment that wasn't savory to help support his family. And unbeknownst to him or me or anyone that knew him, he was susceptible to addiction and had something going on inside of him that made him feel like that kind of self-medication would ease the pain. And so he became a cocaine addict and an alcoholic. And he attempted to take his life several times. He lived in our basement. We enabled, as many parents do, not understanding what's happening. And we loved him through the entire process. I think my aha moment with him, after we had to ask him to leave the home because he continued to use once we figured out what he was doing, was when we had a family intervention that we thought completely failed. And in a later conversation with my son, he explained to me that although that day his reaction had been very negative and he was not going to go to rehab on that day, 6 to 9 months later, when he was considering taking his life, seriously considering, he had a gun in his hand. It was the memory of that intervention that made him call for help. And this is the first time I've told that story without crying. It is so touching to me that the love of a family can make such a difference. And I think if I'm speaking to families and speaking to moms and speaking to dads and grandmas and grandfathers who are so lost and so confused and so concerned and really don't know what to do, there is a fine line between loving and enabling, but you cannot stop loving these people who are dealing with addiction. What you do have to do is continue to love them, but draw the line and expect behavior that is appropriate in your home and with your family and around your friends. And it's a tough line to follow, but it works. My son is in recovery. He's approaching his second year. He's gainfully employed. He's very happy. And in his words, he's never been happier. He wakes up in the morning happy. He does he's doing what he loves to do. And he has had almost a dozen of his friends die from overdoses in the last 2 years.
Wow.
One by one, he's attended their funerals. And I remember texting him one day and saying, Colin, I am so sorry you've lost another friend. And he said to me, I am too, but it is one of the things that will keep me sober because I will never go back to that life.
Yeah. Every funeral would be a powerful reminder, I suppose.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you are really right on the front lines in the work that you're doing now.
Yeah.
You're standing at the intersection of people who are living lifestyles that will lead them either to intentionally or unintentionally kill themselves with drugs. So incredible work that you're doing.
Thank you. It's very important.
Yeah.
And, and I am passionate about it. And I appreciate, everyone who works to help addicts and their families and ethically treat them so that they can come back to life. I mean, they don't have a life right now. They need to return to life.
Yeah, so you are an amazing role model to a lot of people and certainly a hero to a lot of people. But who do you look up to for inspiration as a role model?
That's funny you say that because I don't think of myself as a hero at all. The heroes that I work with are all the addicts in recovery that I am surrounded by. And my son, Colin, certainly a hero of mine. Our family has been faced with addiction at many levels, and Colin is the story that I'm telling. But anyone who has faced addiction or had a family member who they've had to support through recovery, they understand that it's not they left treatment and they're better. It's a lifelong process. Someone who's in recovery is in recovery for the rest of their lives. They will be tempted many times, and they have to each time resist. And to be able to do that and come out of the depths of hell, which is where they've been, and live a life that is valued and joyful, those are the people that are my heroes. I really salute them.
Yeah, fascinating. I really appreciate you sharing that example because I share that admiration for them overcoming such incredible challenges. I don't know if I could do that. As I look inside myself, I see the weaknesses that could really fly out of control in that situation, and I worry. So I'm glad you found so many people to help. Now there are a lot of mothers of addicts who count their blessings that their kids are in recovery. And don't do what you're doing. Why did you feel personally responsible to be the difference?
My background is nonprofit work. I've been working in nonprofits of different varieties most of my career. And I guess I am drawn to a challenge. And this is a challenge. When I started in this business almost 5 years ago, a little over 4 years ago, it was a different world. People weren't even aware then of what they are now, and today they're not aware of what they need to be. We have a long way to go. So I think I just felt like, why not? I have personal experience with this. I almost lost a son to addiction. I mean, this is my 6'3" cuddly bear guy that everybody adores, and addiction almost stole him from me. And that's why I do what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Now, you are an amazing woman. As I've gotten to know you over the last few years.
Thanks, Devin.
What do you think of as your superpower?
I'm not afraid. I can tackle a problem and face it head on. My lifelong motto has been the only way out is through. I've used that for 40 years. When something happens, for whatever reason, I have been blessed with the ability to just push through and get it done. Maybe not on someone else's timeline. I've been known to miss a few deadlines in my life, but I get it done. And I like it to be done the right way. So I'm not afraid to take on a problem. And I'm not afraid of naysayers. And I'm not afraid of the challenge. I mean, running a 501c3 is a challenge. You know, you're raising money all the time. We're talking about saving people's lives or changing their lives. We're not, you know, these are big, big issues. And there are some nights I've woken up and thought, what in the world? Why did I take this on in my 60s? But I'm not afraid of it. I think it's really important. And I think if we can make a change, we should. And so that's what I'm doing. Oh,
that's inspiring. I certainly believe it's true of you that you have no fear. And I will think of that forever, Jean. I will think of you as Fearless Jean from now on.
Thank you.
And I think that's really appropriate. I mean, the courage it takes just in the current moment, right, to sell your house, load everything onto the RV and say, I'm off. I mean, that's just really, really brave. Most people could not step that far out of their comfort zone. They just could not even think of stepping that far out of their comfort zone. So I really admire you for doing that. Well, Jean, before you go, tell people how they can learn more about 10,000 Beds and connect with you personally. Sure. 10,000 Beds is online. Our website is 10,000beds.org, and that's 10000beds, BEDS.org. We're also on Facebook. We're on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. You can also reach me by email at Jean, Jean, at 10,000beds.org. And our board members are available. They're listed on our website. Reach out to us if we can help in any way we can. We're here to help people change their lives, and we've dedicated ourselves to that. I have a board made up of people who are as dedicated as any that you'd ever meet, either because they've been through this themselves and they've come out on top, and they understand how hard the fight is, or because they've seen someone who's gone through it. And so there's a lot of passion in our organization, and we'd love to hear from anyone who wants to reach out. Oh, fantastic. Well, Jean, thank you very much for being with us today, and we wish you every success in filling those 10,000 beds. Thank you so much, Devin. I appreciate it. All righty. Let's do some good.